All right, hey everybody, this is Mike Lowe, and we are on episode 5 now of our Knicks My GM, with you being the assistant GM. I don't even know what to call this thing, but it's been a lot of fun so far, and we're going to be wrapping up the off-season here and getting into the second season finally. So this will probably be the last episode of season 1, but rest assured we'll be continuing this on in season 2 and further, and probably even some future series too as we get closer to the start of the actual NBA season. First, I want to thank you all. This is the first video where I'm now an official YouTube partner. So you have all played a huge part in that, and I just am so appreciative of all those who've been subscribing and checking out the videos, leaving comments, asking questions. And this has been a lot of fun. Again, the whole idea here, try to take a really realistic approach as much as we can in these sports games. We don't just do with NBA 2K, but we do it with a lot of different games. But right now, this is really the best offering, in my opinion. And you've all been super helpful. We are going to decline Derrick Rose. I know we were kind of on the fence about it. There's still some value here. So it's not the worst thing to pick up. I mean, he would be our starting point guard, but I want to free that money up. I want to just let really quickly just kind of go and just see how he develops this year. I want to see how even the rookies can start to develop behind him. And not that Derrick Rose would clutter things up, but really it's kind of a make or break year for Quickley. And I want to give him every opportunity he can to prove himself right or to prove himself wrong. But I think that's going to be it. We're going to decline Derrick Rose, which was a tough decision. But I just think it's kind of like walking out of the casino while you're ahead is how I see Derrick Rose. Like, he went the whole year uninjured. And look at this body health, right? We all know the story with his knees and so on. It's been super unfortunate for some of his career. But I think he only missed one game last year. And so some people would look at that and say, well, wait a second. Like, what? Let me see where his games played are. Wait a second here. He only missed, he played in all 82 games, right? He started 78 of them. So wait a second here. Why would you not want to do this? But that's exactly why, right? Look at the previous years, 26 games played, 50. He has not done this in years where he's come even close, right? Since 2011, the year he won the MVP. To me, that's walking out of the casino ahead. We got our money's worth out of Derrick Rose. It's time to step away, get out of the casino before you lose all your money. And in this case, it's quite a bit of money, especially for a team that does not have a ton of money. Before we look into free agency, we have to know where we stand from a financial standpoint. On the screen, you can see there's a few things here. I mean, the biggest thing at the top is that we are about $8.5 million in the red. Now, we can come down here and we can adjust some of these things, but I'm going to just kind of leave things as is. But that just kind of shows you, like, we're not going to be big spenders this season. And that's fine, because when we look at the roster again collectively in a second, I don't think we need to be, and I don't really think we're in a position to be. We are not a team that's like a player away or like a superstar away from suddenly being, one of the top 4 teams in the league. We're just not there yet. That's our goal. And that certainly would be a different story if we felt like we were, if we were like the 3 seed or something in the East. It would be a different story, but we're not there yet. So what do we do now? We position ourselves this year so that in future years we are in that place to do that. So we're kind of future planning at this point, right? I think it's important to call out on this screen too that I don't think a lot of people realize that when you have something like arena operations all the way to the left, the slider, or promotions nearly all the way to the left, that does not mean zero, right? You have to notice that's a range, right? We are still spending nearly $27 million on arena operations. So having that at 0 is not the end of the world. Bumping it up to 37, you're spending $11 million additional dollars, and it would certainly help, but it's not the end of the world if these are down here. I would like to bump these up, but again, we're not. I'm not going to even lower team operations because I think we can kind of cut into that $9 million in debt here. Just by keeping free agency rather simple. There is a player or two that I'm looking at, but again, it's not going to be big splash stuff. It's going to be kind of future preparing. We're preppers basically, right? We're stashing canned goods in the cellar, so to speak. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here with this Knicks team, just out of necessity. We just don't have a ton of flexibility. As we look at the roster, kind of how it stands now, right? We let Derrick Rose go. And this is the situation at point guard. Again, it's going to be quickly, but I think Rush and most likely really Wilson Gordon is the guy that I could see with that B potential. Can he kind of bump up and be a a serviceable backup this year, right? We still don't really have an answer at perimeter defense. And Derrick Rose is better than all of these guys at it. So that is going to be a hit. We've technically made our perimeter defense a little bit worse after being the worst defense in the league, arguably last year. But again, we're prepping for the future here. There was a strategy behind that. We saved $15 million by doing that. And so I really want to see these guys. And I think Wilson Gordon could be the one. He was picked before. Actually, was he picked after Dalton Rush? I forget now. So he was the 5th pick. So he would have been before Rush, who we picked just a few picks later. But we'll see. Maybe Rush goes to the G League, that kind of thing. But our free agent strategy will involve getting Wilson Gordon some help. And I'll explain that here in just a second. Shooting guard, we're going to be pretty deep here, right? We got Brunson, Fournier, of course, Wallace, who we drafted. Ball will be not on the team technically. And we have Grimes. Now, again, we can still deal one of these players, right? I've talked how, kind of dealing Brunson would help because, look at our perimeter defense. Brunson would be starting for sure. That's bad. He's worse than the point guards at perimeter defense. These guys aren't bad, right? But they're not good either. And again, Rush definitely leaves some area for concern. He's a guy that we could probably put on the trade block right now. And I wouldn't mind even moving him if need be. So Brunson, again, a little bit of concern there. Fournier can play it. Wallace, again, will be really good. But we have to kind of see how quickly do we want to kind of, give the keys to Wallace here. He's not much further away with Brunson. Brunson's unhappy. It makes some sense still to move him. I know some in the comment section have talked more about it makes more sense to move Fournier. And I agree to an extent. Again, you're talking like pound per pound quality. Yeah, certainly. 26-year-old Brunson is better than a 30-year-old Fournier. But again, there are some other areas with this, right? We look at the contract. We can get out of this contract after this season, right? So that's not a concern at all. Brunson, not that that's a huge concern, and he's not even that much more, but he does have that player option. He'd be around. And again, this concern I still have with Brunson is just the health. It's not there yet, but again, it's like that casino analogy we use for Derrick Rose. I just don't know at 26, like that's a little bit beat up. And he's not even a big man, right? So I am a little bit concerned with that. You can see Fournier, we're not really concerned with injuries. The history, it can be, he's only out for a few days there. And if we go back to Brunson, his has a lingering injury that he sustained last year, and it can be re-aggravated. So, tendonitis is something I'm a little bit concerned about. So anyway, a lot of depth there. Power forward. We don't have any small forwards in the team, but of course we have Barrett, who will be coming back. But a lot of these guys, again, Fournier can play the 3. Brunson cannot, right? So another reason to kind of keep him there. Grimes. So it still makes more sense for me to move Brunson. If our coach would use him as a point guard this year, maybe it would be a little bit different, and maybe he will. We can take a look at that. But again, that perimeter D just allows for too much penetration, too much just, dribble driving. And it's just, it's not good to watch. You can see it even in the live games I'm watching. Power forward. I think we're okay. Again, I'm not in love with Obi Toppin, and even, again, kind of a one-trick pony here with Pollard, just kind of a guy who can shoot the ball. So we'll see what can develop there, if anything. Of course, Randall I like a lot, at least for this year. We'll see how that kind of goes. And then at center, again, pretty good. So, how many players are we talking that are already on this roster that we're planning to be here for this year, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can skip ball. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, plus Barrett is 14. So we have 14. Again, maybe we can make a move where we move Gordon or one of the shooting guards and that kind of thing. But we're sitting at 14 right now. So at most, that leaves 2 spots, right? And I believe, wouldn't one of those have to be a G League player, which isn't a problem because one of those point guards can definitely be it. So free agency looks like this. These are, of course, the top players, regardless of price, regardless of system match and that kind of thing. And as I said earlier, I don't see us in a position to pay, say, a 33-year-old player $50 million. One, we can't. It won't even work, right? Even if I tried, it's going to freak out and say, yeah, no, that's not happening, right? So what is kind of cool is 2K, and I wish they would let you kind of create these filters yourself, but they do kind of do some filtering. So now I can click over and we'll be on affordable players. Derrick Rose, by the way, the top rated affordable point guard. And see, even this, by declining, even if we wanted to re-sign Derrick Rose, we just saved about, $2.5 million. And so there is that option there. And truthfully, this is where I could use your help too. With the bird years, I know like that allows us to go over the cap, and that's not really the problem. I just don't really think Derrick Rose should be on the team this year. It's not even a financial decision. It's part of it. Again, we get the savings from it, but that's not the reason why I have decided to move on from him. And please share your feedback. I know you're kind of sharing your feedback after these decisions have been made in some spots, but still, it's good to talk about. It's certainly good to consider things as we look at trades during the season, next off season, and so on. So again, as we kind of just flip through like the affordable players, right? You can see the different positions here: shooting guards, small forward. And by all means, you can pause the video here if you want to kind of, look through these lists a little bit closer. But these are the affordable, right? And if I just to show you, these are all position affordable, but also here's just all positions, right? So point guard, regardless of price; shooting guard, regardless of price; small forward; power forward. Bridges, I need to look and see. What is this injury still? Personal reasons, and I edited that. I wonder if someone's going to sign him now. I guess we just have to kind of let this go. It's either that or just figure out a way to like delete him out of the game. And then center here. So let me tell you kind of my plan. And let me show you some of the players I was looking at. First off, I was looking at Patrick Beverly. I was also looking at... let's see. What is this sorting by overall? How am I missing him? I'm trying to remember who it was now. Maybe he was on one of the unaffordables. Let's see. Oh yeah, Mike Conley. So Mike Conley is a player I was again looking at potentially. And actually, he should be on this list somewhere here. Let's see. Oh, sorry, shooting guards. And Tyler Hero as well. Looking at him, but again, like shooting guard, he's restricted free agent, wants a lot of money. We have a ton of shooting guards. And again, he's still not really a guy who fits my system. So as much as I was like, boy, a 23-year-old 85, that'd be nice to put with RJ Barrett, but I just don't see him. He's not even a system match. Like I always joke with my wife, like when I in something in life, like when I get to 2 strikes, I'm out, right? And so I'm pretty picky about a lot of things in my life, right? He's a restricted free agent. I won't even count that as a full strike. Let's just call that maybe a half strike. 34 million, a little high, but probably worth it for his age. System match, though, being that bad is a strike, right? Not being able to play perimeter defense at the 2 is a strike. And so, is he a potential superstar in this league? I mean, I think he won like this, what did he, like comeback player of the year? He won something this year, I think. Let's see if it shows the awards. But, is he a nice guy? I mean, absolutely. Yeah, 6th man of the year, I should say. So, certainly ready to take on a full-time starting role here. But I just don't see it as a fit, again, especially with this price. If it was maybe in a trade or something where his contract was a little more reasonable, something that we could consider. But we just drafted a shooting guard. We have a lot of options already at that position, right? So I did give him some consideration, but really there wasn't a whole lot I'm giving consideration to. I mentioned that I was looking at... like Mike Conley, for instance. Again, a really, really good system fit. I do think with some maneuvering, again, if we did a trade right now, we could certainly bring him in and he would kind of hold down that point guard position for us, right? He can shoot the 3, he can score a little bit on the inside, good perimeter defender, excellent playmaker. And so he'd be kind of like a stopgap, right? He would basically be, of course, our Derrick Rose for about that same price. I mean, he was an all-star just 2 years ago. You guys know Mike Conley. First off, he's on the cover of NCAA 2K8, right? The greatest college basketball game ever made. So amazing that he's still playing. That's freaking so cool. So again, a little bit dinged up, not as bad as Derrick Rose. What else can we see here? Just looking at his advanced metrics, I mean, he's still putting up very, very nice numbers as far as his game scores go. We looked at these ratings earlier, so he definitely fits what we're kind of doing here. So it's an option. It's definitely an option. Let's see. He's got some, I love the floor general. I mean, that's going to help elevate everybody. I mean, he's still a good player, and our coaching staff is pretty decent with older players. So he's a player we're still considering. But let me show you kind of a primary objective signing for me. And it may seem a little weird, but the guy that I want more than anyone on all of these lists, let me find him, is Patrick Beverly. The 35-year-old Patrick Beverly. He is my number one target. First off, he's a 5-star system match. Second, he doesn't want a ton of money. He still has a respectable rating at 78. He can contribute a little bit on offense, but he's an absolute monster lockdown defender on the perimeter. He can even play a little bit of inside defense. He is a shooting guard, point guard, of course, former all-team defender. Again, this has been a few years ago now, so he's not the same player. So you may be thinking like, well, wait a second here. He can, pretty good at the ball, playmaker, and some good physical ability there, athleticism and whatnot. So what are we doing with this guy? I'll tell you in a second. Let's continue just to kind of look at him. So again, a little bit dinged up, a little bit undersized, 6'1" for the shooting guard spot. But let's see, what else can I show you here that interested me? His game scores, again, not great. Kind of fits that, $6 million range. Kind of a depth guy almost at 78 overall, but it's at a position that we don't really need a ton of depth, right? Of course, just a real just clamp down defender here. Tons of defensive badges. So what the hell are we doing with this guy? Well, let me show you. In my opinion, by signing Patrick Beverly, it is going to impact the mentor system in this game tremendously. Now, I don't think we really need to worry about him matching up with Wallace, who's already a pretty good defender. Fournier is too old, but maybe we match him up with Grimes, kind of put him over the top. And again, Grimes would be more of a backup. What I'm really hoping, and again, I let the coach handle this, and maybe we can make the argument that, like, well, that's not really realistic. Like, you wouldn't just sign him and hope and pray that your coach does it. Maybe we can step in on this one and say, we are going to sign him, and we're going to match him up as a mentor to Wilson Gordon. And that's my plan with Patrick Beverly. I don't even care if Patrick Beverly gets on the court. I just want, he's basically a $6 million assistant coach, in my opinion, who can also still play, right? So he's kind of like a player coach to me. He can certainly play, especially if we move on from one of these guys, or two. I mean, we could trade both of these guys at this point and have Wallace, Beverly, and Grimes as our three guards. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I would like him to mentor Gordon. And again, he can help him with quite a few different things here, especially perimeter defense, start to get some of those badges. We have a coaching staff that can help accelerate badge acquisition. So that also makes a lot of sense too, right? So he is going to be, and it sounds ridiculous, and I think in real life you'd have Knicks fans going crazy, like, wait, this GM, his first move, like his primary thing is to sign this 35-year-old shooting guard. What the hell are we doing here? Long game. That's what we're doing here. So Patrick Beverly is going to be my primary target, and we'll see about Connolly, and we'll kind of even see what else maybe shakes down with the trades and things like that. But I see this as being a deal that makes a lot of sense. When we negotiate his contract, I mean, he wants 2 years. I don't really think he has any offers. I don't think he has any offers so far. That shows you here somewhere, but I believe, yeah, so he has no offers. So we can, maybe even try to lowball him, get him closer to like 6 million or 5.5 or something like that. And we can see kind of where that goes. So I'm going to go ahead and just start kind of tinkering with the offers for Patrick Beverly, and then we'll see how it all looks here during this moratorium phase. So I've gone ahead and just offered a simple contract to Patrick Beverly. It's, I think, a 2-year deal with a team option, $6 million. he's mulling it over here. And while we're kind of waiting for that before we advance, I wanted just to kind of throw up Evan Fournier in a trade and just kind of see what's out there. And there are two deals that are intriguing to me. Again, especially if we're bringing Beverly to kind of free up a roster spot at the shooting guard spot, which is probably a little bit too deep there. We can kind of spread it out and maybe save some money in the long run. So the first deal that is intriguing is the Charlotte Hornets are offering first a second round pick a couple years from now. Fine. But Cody Martin, is Cody Martin a player that completely moves the needle? Not necessarily, but he would give us some much needed depth at shooting. Small forward, and also allow us to go a little bit bigger at the shooting guard if we needed to, if coach needed to. He can shoot the three okay. Everything else just kind of like he's a body, but he's got some potential at B+. Now he's 27. So again, that kind of remains to be seen how valuable that is. He has no badges at 27. Again, it's 3 years there. Really, the team option kind of makes it 2. He's not cheap, but also not expensive. Pretty healthy player. So again, what's the biggest appeal here? I mean, there's probably two things, right? Real quick, his game score is certainly lacking. So again, just it's a decent offer for two reasons, right? One, it frees up $18.86 million this year, but we're taking back about 7.5 of that. So really, it frees up more like 11 million. It's it frees up some money. The other part is that it does give us another body at the small forward position. Is that a reason to make a trade? I don't know, maybe, right? The other offer that I think you all will probably like more is this offer from the Lakers. It's straight up 2 unprotected first round draft picks. Now, who knows what the Lakers look like in 26 and 27? Who knows if we're even still with the Knicks? But this deal takes $18 million right off the books. It gives us 2 draft picks, again, some maneuverability. We don't know this could be the number 1 pick in the draft for all we know. They could be picked 30 2 years in a row. But either way, I kind of look at it like, well, we would get at least a Cody Martin or something out of, you'd think, one of those picks, right? And then certainly the first round pick has more value than the second. So I am also kind of leaning towards this Lakers deal. But let me know your thoughts on that, because I think that could be a pretty decent deal, especially if Patrick Beverly accepts here and we look to move Evan Fournier. And of course, there's other options too, Brunson and so on. But I know a lot of you wanted to kind of keep Brunson. And if we can move out Fournier, especially kind of just taking the contract off the books completely, it kind of makes keeping Brunson around at least another year as another option. He's just 26. Still has B+ potential. So, and we still need offense, right? I know I've been kind of overly obsessed with perimeter defense. We still need to, score the ball, which you did a pretty good job of last year, and Brunson was a part of that. So, by the way, can't trade Rush just yet. Got to wait 29 days. So maybe I should have looked at doing that before we retain his contract there. But nonetheless, the season doesn't start for at least 29 more days. So we can certainly have time to trade Rush before the season starts if we need to kind of free up some space for, say, Mike Conley or something like that. So just wanted to show you guys those couple of offers there. It's pretty intriguing. Again, it would free up some money so that we could go out and maybe get a guy like Mike Conley. And then what we're looking at is Conley could work with Gordon, and we could have Patrick Beverly work with, say, Grimes or something like that to kind of really shore up that perimeter defense, or have him even work with Wallace to really kind of put that perimeter defense into the A+ range or something like that. So yeah, just some ideas there. Or Brunson, right? I mean, Brunson could definitely, he's the reason why I'm kind of looking to move him, is his defense. So it would give us some flexibility here. We kind of have like 2 player coaches on the roster in the backcourt. So we're still on the moratorium day 2, but I really don't have anything I can do because we just don't have a ton of leverage right now to do anything that we're actually interested in doing. So I started looking around like, well, what if we kind of up the Fournier deal? And what if we just looked around and tried to trade both of these guys right now and just kind of see what offers we'd get? And there's 3 offers that are intriguing. One is this deal with the Spurs here. Now, again, I would just assume the Spurs pick won't be very good. Joshua Primo, I mean, he was the 12th pick a couple of years ago. But really adds nothing. I mean, he's not even like a developmental piece. He's just, I mean, truthfully, this is probably actually a really great trade for the Spurs, right? They're getting rid of Primo, even though it's not a huge chunk of change, but it frees up $4 million. They probably don't care much about this first round draft pick, and they're getting two pretty darn good players. Now, I don't know exactly what their roster looks like. If we did do a trade like this, and I recommend this to anybody, is just you really kind of look at it from the lens of the other team. Don't just make assumptions. Go in and look. What was their last year's record? What's their current roster look like? What's their salary structure look like? Or their salary situation and cap situation look like? So we'd have to kind of look into that. But it would free up these contracts. That's the pro for us. But it does not make us a better team. I mean, there's no question. It absolutely makes us a worse team. And that's where I'm a little bit hesitant on this offer. Especially when we consider like what we're able to get for just Fournier and his own, those two picks from the Lakers, which, hey, roll the dice. You never know. They could be anything. They could be the 15th pick. They could be the 5th pick. Could be the 30th pick. We just don't know. The next intriguing offer comes from the Utah Jazz. So again, this would free up a lot of cap space for us. It's again getting kind of like two lesser pieces, but they're better developmental pieces than what the Spurs would be giving us. Again, friendly rookie contract there, the 14th pick just a year ago out of Kansas. And again, there's some pieces here. Perimeter defense, 3-point shooting's okay. Potential's okay. Probably just going to be a bench guy, but it's unfortunate that he's just the shooting guard. Or I should say not just, but even if his primary position was small forward, like maybe this would make a little bit more sense. We could at least get some depth behind RJ Barrett, official depth, I guess, at the small forward position. Walker Kessler, also picked that same year in 2022, was the 22nd pick in that draft out of Auburn, 7'1", and does some things okay. Post defender, can rebound a little bit, but his potential's bad. I mean, he's never probably even develop into like a usable backup. So again, it's kind of like a contract dump for the Jazz, and it certainly makes them better at the expense of, kind of picking up some contracts here. And I also, I mentioned before, like looking at the other team to make sure it's a fit, but you also need to make sure, at least in my opinion, and this is why I've upped the trade slider in my settings, which again, there's a video kind of going over my beta set, which is available at this time, but we'll certainly have other updates later on those. But you got to make sure too that you're not just turning the CPU teams into like your graveyard or your dumping zone of just bad contracts and stuff like that. But anyway, this deal's here. It's okay. This is an intriguing deal to me as well. The Clippers are willing to send us Paul George, and they're going to throw in Zubac, I think is how you say his name. So two good players, no question about it. They've also asked for Obi Toppin. Now, Obi Toppin's progressed pretty well. He's in the last year of his deal. He is certainly behind Julius Randle right now. But could be a year away from being our starter. He used to just kind of be like an inside-only scorer. His mid-range shooting has improved a lot, and he's a good defender, and he can rebound a little bit. So, for his size, that's not too bad, right? Still would like to see that kind of in the B+ range, but he's still maturing. He's got a little bit of maybe untapped potential there, hopefully. So the jury's still out a little bit on Obi Toppin. But that's something that they would be looking for to get a deal done, along with the two shooting guards. The Clippers, of course, would be sending us two players themselves. I think this is a pretty fair deal. If we didn't have a backup center, it would certainly be appealing. We would have three. We'd have four centers now, but three that are technically could start. And certainly a couple of them that would be really, really strong backups. I do like Zubac. He can score on the inside. Post defender, rebounder, and he's still got some potential at age 26. So a good player. Of course, Paul George is kind of a game changer for this team. And although he plays the same position as RJ Barrett, I think he could be, again, another really nice mentor. And maybe RJ Barrett, who's a little bit shorter than Paul George, can play the two. And that's a roll of the dice as well, right? Because I don't know exactly what Thibodeau is going to do here with this spot. But, of course, Paul George can score from anywhere. He can play great defense. He'd be a dream to add to the team. He's not cheap, that's for sure. And that player option is a little scary. Like, if this was a one-year deal, I'd actually be more interested in this, or if it was a team option. because I think it can be kind of fun to mentor. What I worry about is that like there's just a huge clash and like both these guys aren't on the court at the same time or something like that. Like who knows how they're going to get utilized. But those deals are out there as well. Speaking of kind of curious to see how the coach uses the team, what I'm kind of planning for Brunson right now is I'm hoping that the game sees like, we have a pretty good depth here. Let's just say we trade like Fournier, right, to the Lakers or something. And so he's gone, and it's going to say, well, we got some guys down here who are okay, and we just signed Patrick Beverly. I'm hoping, like some of you have mentioned, that the AI will actually move Brunson to our starting point guard. And that might just work. I'm not still crazy about that. And I know some people have mentioned that. And I do think he probably makes a better, maybe point guard than shooting guard potentially. But even here, if I look at league leaders, right? And let's go to advanced stats. And we're just going to go to the shooting guard position. And I want to look at the pure point rating, right? So at the top, it says, born from the conventional assist over turnover ratio. PPR values a turnover as more costly than an assist is helpful. The stat looks exclusively as a player's ability as a pure point guard. And so again, he's a very, very good ball distributing guard. If I go down to kind of where he's ranked here, let's go to all shooting guards. We'll just kind of rank him. He's at 7.7 here, sixth. Actually, a little bit higher than that. I'll show you what I mean here. But if we go look at his just kind of stats, right? His general stats, 5.8 assists. That was a career high from him. I mean, that's solid. That's really, really solid for sure. Just the 14 points. But again, that kind of lends me more like, gosh, maybe this guy is just better suited as a point guard. Now let's just see kind of players, because some of these guys were just, they barely played and their stats got escalated. But I'm just saying how many guys, like for instance, like Pinson here, I wouldn't put above him, nor would I put these guys. So really, he's kind of third amongst shooting guards. But let's see where 7.7 puts him in the point guard range of, let's just say guys who are 80 or higher, right? So 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we're only counting 80 or higher. 6, 7. So he would be eighth. And that's easily a top 10 point guard technically, right? So I'm not opposed to just kind of letting that happen. And here's kind of like the dream scenario for me. Let's just say we sit tight here in free agency. Maybe we trade Fournier for those picks. We free some things up. We could go out and then get maybe Mike Conley to kind of add here for some insurance. And then you'd have like Conley and Fournier in the backcourt. I mean, that would give us a lot of flexibility. Or we sit tight and perhaps Conley goes unsigned because he's older and sometimes free agents just aren't going to get contracts. We kind of keep an eye to see on his action. And if there is no action, we can be patient with this. And then we see what the coach does. I would check on what Thibodeau wants to do now, but it doesn't let you, right? So you saw there, it just says you cannot access this only during the season. So we have to kind of see. And I think that's kind of cool, actually. Like, I know that may seem silly, but like, I kind of simulate it like, well, I don't know all of Thibodeau's plans. I mean, his job is to be the coach. My job is to be the GM. And so I kind of like that there's a little bit of ambiguity here. And so, like I said, I might interject a little bit this year and kind of work through some of the mentorships and things like that. But yeah, for now, I think that's kind of the plan is we're just going to be patient, right? We're going to be patient. We're going to keep an eye on Mike Conley, who technically is an unaffordable point guard. Even keep an eye on Van Fleet. Again, right now, these guys have no offers, right? No offer. Connolly, no offers. And I don't know, could these guys stay free agents? Maybe, certainly Van Fleet with his injury and whatnot. So we'll have to see. There's a lot of money to be spent, but there's also a lot of players to spend it on. So that's my plan, right? We're just going to kind of sit tight with Beverly right now. At least through the moratorium phase, and we'll kind of see, maybe I can reshop those players a little bit to see, like some of you have said that once the rosters get a little bit more solidified, that the offers get a little bit more accurate. But that's the plan right now. Again, being patient is something we've done since day one here, and we're going to continue to do it now. Okay, I lied. I'm not going to be super patient. I was just looking at the Lakers shooting guard situation, and it's bleak. It is very bleak. They have a second round pick signed at shooting guard. This is their entire roster, by the way. I'm kind of jealous of this. This is amazing. They have 5 guys on their team. They can barely field a starting roster here. I am going to make that move for Fournier to the Lakers for the 2 first-round draft picks. And we're going to make that trade right now. Before the Lakers lock in and solidify an actual player, we're going to kind of just beat them to the punch a little bit. And so, and again, some of that's because even with Brunson in there, I wasn't really seeing a huge deal. I think actually it makes Brunson more tradable to trade him on his own because you're not having this extra $20 million added on. And most teams aren't looking to add 2 expensive shooting guards. So it makes sense. I mean, if anything, the Lakers would want to do something like that, and they didn't really have an offer like that. So I think this deal makes a lot of sense. I like Fournier as a player more than I think most of you from some of the comments. But to me, this is just the deal that makes the most sense. And again, I'm just flipping through to see, going back there. I don't want to trade Grimes. Oh, just if anything else has popped up that's intriguing. I mean, not really. We talked about Cody Martin's not bad, but I'd definitely rather still have those 2 first if that's still on the table. And they are. So, I mean, they're future picks, but, we'd have to go 2 years without these picks. But we have a lot of draft picks already. And again, this is collateral. It could end up being a pick next year. So I think that's the trade we're going to end up doing here. And it makes sense. Just as I said, I checked it out. They certainly have the cap space, it looks like. They certainly have a need to add players to their roster. My goodness. And yeah, I think this deal just makes a lot of sense. I thought that guy's name was Cancer. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, top 10 protected. I mean, it'd be nice to have that pick next year, but top 10 protected, just in case the Spurs had a bad year or something. But yeah, here's why I kind of value even that one's next year, it's top 10, it probably won't be that. Draft picks, especially in the NBA, in my opinion, they're like dice rolls, right? Who knows? Who knows if the player is going to be any good, unless you're kind of picking that top 3, top 5, that kind of thing. The more dice rolls you have, the more likely you are to hit. And so we get 2 pretty good dice rolls here. This is almost like hey, if you get a 1 through 3, we'll award you with a decent player, right? So it's kind of like a 50-50, more like a coin flip, I guess you could say. We're getting 2 coin flips here. I'm perfectly happy with this trade. I think some of you are going to be very happy with this trade because I know a lot of you are kind of wanting to move him first. So we are going to make our first trade finally here in episode 5. Evan Fournier is going to go to the Lakers for 2 first-round draft picks, unprotected. I don't really know why the Lakers are doing this, truthfully, but I have the trade slider increased. It's more difficult. There's an argument that maybe that's why. Maybe they're seeing that it's unrealistic to do this. They're desperate. And gosh, now I'm pausing, thinking maybe we should wait until the moratorium's done. And if they still offer this, then it's fair. Because this just seems ridiculous, doesn't it? So, yeah, I'm sorry for the tease here. I'm going to wait till the moratorium's over. But I do want to make that trade. So I did not intend to tease that. But when I looked at it there, it just looks a little bit like, ooh, man. I know they're desperate for guys, but there's a lot of players out there, right? I mean, aren't there? If we go to shooting guards... I mean, yeah, there's an argument. I don't know. They can still find some guys here. Are they in on any of these players? Yeah, I mean, the Lakers are in on Hero. So, yeah, that right there, that's going to change things, right? I'm just seeing if they're in on any of these others that are kind of rated, say, 76 or higher or something. So, nothing yet. It's really just kind of the big-name guys. Maybe we are way too quick to sign... Beverly, but he was, we're kind of talking just pennies to the dollar at that point. If I pay him 5, if I pay him 6, I don't care. I don't see a difference. He's a guy I absolutely wanted. He was the only guy that kind of fit that game plan. Yeah, but they're in on Tyler Hero. And I'd be surprised if they don't get him. That's quite the offer. So let's move ahead in the moratorium and let's see what the Lakers do first. And then I will feel more comfortable making a deal like that with Fournier. The moratorium period is over, and Tyler Hero has not signed yet, so I'm going to wait a little bit on that trade. I want to see what Tyler Hero decides first. Again, if we just kind of look at shooting guards, I mean, there are a lot of players who have signed. I will show you that list momentarily. But here, there's still, at least a couple of players. I don't know if the Lakers are in on Jordan Poole at all, but potentially they could be. So, but after that, I think it's definitely fair game to make a move for Fournier. So, but I do want to see what Hero does, and if they're still interested, we'll still do it. But just want to make sure that we're kind of up on that. So again, waiting a little bit longer here. We do have Patrick Beverly on the roster now, so that's exciting. And I'm a little concerned about RJ Barrett. I don't, again, know exactly how this is going to work because it's been a long time since I kind of dealt with a restricted free agent that was this good. He, of course, won't talk to us. And when I go look at his offers, it's like, oof, he's getting offers. And my hope is, and my understanding is like, yeah, well, we'll get a chance to match it. That's what a restricted free agent is. But like, what if I can't afford it? And what I'm hoping is that like we can go over this, with his bird years and whatnot, even if it puts us, I mean, he's a player, even if we go into the luxury, I mean, tough, like we're going to do it. I don't think it shows me contract now, does it? Yeah, it just shows this now. So, but, I think he has the proper amount of time at least. So, because he would have played 19. Yeah, he's certainly been there for 3 years. So, I don't know. I'm worried. If we lose him, this like blows everything out of the water. I've made major assumptions about him just staying on the roster. Probably a fireable offense. So, we'll see how that goes. Just like that. Here we go. As I advance past day one, we have an update. RJ Barrett is prepared to accept an offer from the Kings. You will be given the opportunity to match the contract. Okay, that's what I want. I just hope I can. It looks like we can. It's not going to come cheap. I mean, that's what, 35 million a year, a little bit less than that, like 33, something like that. Why is he on here twice? That's what I don't understand. So that's decline. No, we don't want to do that. That doesn't apply. Okay, I see. So, but I mean, this is pointless because if we decline it, he becomes a king. So, I mean, we have to match this. Like I said, I don't care what I pay this guy. He is who we're building around. So, RJ Barrett, I know you're annoyed, but too bad. You're going to be rich and annoyed. Welcome back to the New York Knicks. I hope. Let's go see if he's on the roster, and then I will have a little party. Hey, he's back. RJ Barrett. Let's look at how disgusting this contract is, and then everyone can go have a drink. It's not terrible. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be what? 20? Yeah, just 26. Yeah, it's so worth it. I don't know what this did exactly to our cap situation. So as much as I talked about being financially responsible, I'm also not stupid. And sometimes you just need to spend money where it needs to be spent. And, that's kind of what we're doing here. So yeah, I mean, it certainly didn't help our salary cap situation, but that's okay. This is great news for this franchise, for this entire streaming series to have RJ Barrett on board here. And maybe he's a little bit happier. Let's see. Maybe he's a little bit happier being a heck of a lot richer. Let's see here. So he's still annoyed, it said, right? I'm annoyed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but each day is looking better than the last. I mean, that's good. That's the right spirit after signing for $30 million plus a year to play basketball. I mean, I guess that's understandable. So yeah, anyway, I'm glad he's back. Let's keep going through free agency here. Okay, so we are now on day 5 of 12, and still not a lot has happened. Some stuff has happened, which is why I wanted to kind of jump back in and show you where we're at. So Tyler Hero, who we're kind of waiting as the first domino to drop for us to do anything else, still has not decided, even though he's been 100% into it. And I guess what he's deciding is, does he want to stay put? Or I'm sorry, he's with the Heat, right? I was thinking he was with the Magic, wrong Florida team. But, I don't know if he's just deciding, if he wants to be with the Magic or the Lakers here at 100, but he's certainly close on both these deals. But gosh, we're really waiting to kind of see that. We've been keeping an eye on Mike Conley, and he has a pretty nice offer from the Pistons. He's at 89% interest. And so, again, pretty good deal there. 15 million or so, about 16 and a quarter per year there on average. Very, very small deals from the Bucks and Timberwolves. It'd be great if the Pistons backed out and we got him for this price. But again, Mike Conley is kind of the second domino that we need, right? But we need Tyler Hero to sign first before I'm comfortable stealing 2 draft picks from the Lakers. And again, I guess the other thing is we could take a different deal for Fournier, but gosh, I don't know what Hero's waiting to do here. He's taking forever. Kind of another backup point guard options. A couple other ones were Van Fleet. He has re-signed with Toronto. I think he did that actually in the moratorium, or maybe the first week of free agency, or the first day, I should say. Derrick Rose also just signed on day 4 of free agency, and he has signed with the Miami Heat. So Derrick Rose, not that we were really considering it too much, but he signed for, just to kind of show you, he has signed for like 2 years, 20 million or something like that, 22. So again, we made the right decision in not taking his offer, the option, I should say, which was about 15 or more per year, between 15 and 16. So he gets less than that. Again, that's fine. We decided to let him go, and I can confidently say that was the right move here. And you can see some other deals that are going on. Kemba Walker goes to the Spurs, D'Angelo Russell to the Rockets. Andrew Wiggins goes to Golden State. Miles Bridges signs with my Pistons, so gotta still figure out what to do with him. I don't want teams like wasting their cap and not being able to play. Maybe we should just like change his name or something. RJ Barrett, by the way, of course, big news. We saw that on the last part. I couldn't remember if I recorded that, but yeah, we did. So he's back. So not big news. Let's see some other names. DeMarcus Cousins, Oklahoma City. Just kind of going through here. And just kind of gives you a look. Patrick Beverly there. And again, just showing you all the free agent signings so far. Chris Middleton goes to San Antonio. Ooh, there's a big signing for the Pacers. Porzingis goes. Kyle Irving to the Jazz. Jazz will have an interesting team. They had the first pick in the draft. It'd be fun to kind of watch how they developed. Yeah, there's Van Fleet I mentioned. Kevin Love. Cleveland again. James Harden, Sixers again. Yeah, so those are the signings so far. But yeah, I guess the decision is, do we take a different deal? Do we keep waiting? Because I mean, Connolly's a phone call away from signing. So let's talk through those scenarios, right? Let's just say the next one, Connolly's gone. Connolly is gone. Well, what does that do for us? There's really no affordable point guards that we're interested in, but even if we did free up, what does that do? I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie is available. He's not bad. He's not really a great scheme fit, but I mean, he's a guy. But after that, I mean, it gets a little bit low. I mean, you know, Kevin Porter Jr., just 23 years old, could be a nice player to go and grab. Again, not bad, but to me, he's just kind of like a worse Quickly. I don't know if Reggie Jackson's going to be what we're really... I wouldn't want to go any lower than like a 77. He's not a bad player, but again, I'd rather just roll with Quickly at that age. So, last guy we can look at here, Desunmu, is that how you say his name? 23 years old. He's restricted free agent, though. Can score. Not a great defender. Kind of potential, yeah. I mean, not bad potential, but probably not something I'd want to do. So, again, Connolly's gone. What do we do at point guard? Like, what does this look like if we advance a day? Well, it looks like Quickly starts and we keep developing one of these guys, and or we hope that Brunson moves to point guard with our coach, right? If we have Connolly on the team, what does this do for us? Well, it potentially has Connolly and Brunson starting. You'd have 2 6'1" guards starting. Not thrilled about that. And if we have Connolly, it of course allows us to trade Brunson, right? So it would give us some flexibility with that. And then we're in really good shape, I think, if we move Fournier and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I guess the long and short of that is I don't know. I don't really know if we need to get crazy creative to go and get Mike Connolly. Like, that just doesn't seem to compute well. I think we just continue to wait and see what Tyler Hero does, and then what that does, does that open the door for us to move Fournier? So day 7 of free agency, some big news to share. Not too big, I guess. First off, Tyler Hero still has not signed. What is this dude doing? Come on, man. Mike Conley, the Pistons have backed out on their offer. This is great news. This buys us the time that we need and probably is going to save us a lot of money because we can certainly, if we can move Fournier anytime soon, we can certainly outbid those and get him on board if we want. And that's still the question, I guess, is if we want him, we'd have basically 3, 6'1" guards in Connolly, Beverly, and Brunson, all kind of in a rotation there, which could work, but also, again, just something to think about. All right, guys, we are through free agency, but we're not done. But we are going to be wrapping up this episode soon, but I need your feedback because this is where things stand. So first, let's just look at the transactions. Tyler Hero finally did sign on the last day of free agency, and he signed with the Magic. That's going to be good and bad news. I'll explain in a second. Let's go through and just take a look at the other signings. I'll just kind of flip through these, and if you want to see them in more detail, you can pause the video again and take a look. But these are all kind of last day signings. On August 2nd there, Spencer Dinwiddie goes to Phoenix. By the way, how fun would this be to continue this series as an expansion team in the future? Let me know your thoughts on that. Not yet. We're going to definitely play a few years here with the Knicks, but I don't know. Maybe we do a good job and we get offered that position, right? Be kind of cool. So again, still August 2nd. Okay, so yeah, just in case, I don't know if I showed the signings. I'll just kind of flip through them really quick. Scottie Pippen Jr., that's pretty cool. So yeah, that takes us all the way through at least through the August signings. You will notice one name that has not signed yet, and that's Mike Conley. So he is still available as a free agent. So again, where does our roster stand at this point? It looks just like this. And we only signed Patrick Beverly. Very, very, very patient. And we talked about, we wanted to see kind of what happened with Tyler Hero. And the good news for us is that, boy, the Lakers got to be really, really desperate now, right? I mean, they're going to want Fournier, no question, right? The thing is, they don't. When I click through here, it's no longer showing. And really the only trade that is somewhat appealing right now for me, and again, you're welcome to pause and look at those other deals, is this one here. Like Cody Martin to give us some depth at small forward, and we get a second round pick in there too, and that's good. And it's just kind of a flop. I mean, the difference, of course, we're saving a lot of money up front, but it doesn't really save us a ton because after this year, we can decline this option and he's gone, right? So we have, essentially 18 million off the books. Cody Martin's cheaper, but it's almost about the same. It's about 15.5 million, but we're on for 8 million of it next year. So it's not just kind of such an obvious thing. I do like him. He's not a bad player. He can shoot the three, play a little defense, and he's got some potential still. And this is the trade that I would actually consider making, just to kind of balances out the roster a little bit more. But let me show you a trade that I actually like even more. And I'm going to leave you with this thought of, what do we do here? What about this trade? And actually, it's not this one. Hold on. Let me go back here, because what I did, let me just kind of show you what I did. So I let them kind of I'm interested in Paul George, for instance, right? And so what I like to do from this phase then is say, okay, Clippers, I've narrowed it down. By the way, here's some other offers if you're curious, but none of these were really appealing. Some decent offers, but just not players that I really saw as fits for various reasons. Klay Thompson, this was actually an appealing offer because I thought it would be kind of cool to throw him into the mix at shooting guard. It'd just be for a year. And again, this is a trade I'm considering, right? Sims, sure, I guess we had to throw him in, can live with that. We're not really getting a ton, though, because we would just let Thompson walk. We'd have an option here on Moses Moody, former first-round pick, who's a pretty decent player himself, but he's always going to really kind of be in that backup role. But again, nice bench player for sure. It's not a ton of potential, so again, nice player. It doesn't really move the needle, but that's an offer we can consider. But what I did is I kind of looked at this and said, okay, Paul George, this is intriguing. So what I do is I keep my players selected, and then I go over and I select on Paul George. And what it does, then it gives you, it's kind of like you're actually now, okay, I got your email, LA Clippers. I'm making the phone call now. Let's talk, right? What are some other offers? So we saw this one earlier. I don't really want to give up Grimes. We don't really have a need for center. Nice player, just don't need to do that. Amir Coffey, again, doesn't really move the needle. I kind of see it as like, again, decent player, but he can't really play defense. Not any potential, really. I would rather just kind of pick a small forward out of free agency that I like, that does fit, and go with a trade like this. By the way, we can also keep our first round pick, right? This is the trade I want to leave you with, and I want to hear your feedback on, because this to me is like, hey, let's go for it. Speaking of rolling the dice, let's see what this does, right? Let's put Paul George at the 3. Let's see if Thibodeau moves Barrett to the 2, which I actually think could be a really, really good fit for him. Let's move Barrett to the 2, because look at this. When we look at his kind of makeup, oops, he was right at the top, my bad. When we look at his makeup, guy can score from just about anywhere. Good playmaker, good defender, still very athletic, 6'6". I mean, to me, and again, this is a huge overstatement, so I admit to it, but he's kind of like a Michael Jordan, right? 6'6", went to school at North Carolina, different school, but still. And I would, probably want to switch these two if I was really kind of building a Jordan here. I think Jordan was probably better mid-range shooter than three-point shooter. But again, pretty similar player. I think they're the exact same height, basketball IQ. I think RJ Barrett can thrive as a 2. And so what I would do is, like, again, whether we sign Connolly or not, we'd have some, actually, I don't know if we'd have the money now, but Connolly's an option. If not, Beverly can even start there. But basically, you'd have point guard could be Quickly, Beverly. We kind of build up Gordon. Shooting guard would be Beverly, who could also start at point. Or we just, again, get the rookie going right away. And you also got Grimes there off the bench. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Barrett would be the 2 here. And then at the 3, of course, would be Paul George. And then our front court's looking really strong as well. So I think this could turn us into a really good team in the East. And so, but I need the advice of my assistant general managers. So now is the time. Share what you want to share. Let me know if I'm right, if I'm wrong, what am I missing? Or is this kind of the splash deal that we've been patiently waiting for? Player progression, by the way, if you want to just kind of get a good look at this, I just like to sort by position. See Quickly, again, nice improvements there. Maybe we're able to pass on Connolly. His perimeter defense is already up, even without mentoring. Hey, he might have just won himself the job, right? Brunson, again, progressing really, really well. But I don't know if he has a future for us. Even Beverly's still progressing well. That's awesome to see. The rookie's also progressing, so that's cool. Fournier's gone down. Maybe that's why the Lakers were out on him. Grimes improving. Boy, Ball really could be a pretty good player when he's ready. RJ Barrett just looks like a monster. So, not a huge surprise. Everyone's progressing pretty nicely. By the way, I'll show you, not a huge surprise either here on the Clippers, but Paul George, regressing a little bit. And with that 2-year deal, I mean, we would be, locked to him. You would think he'd pick up that player option, but who knows either, The player option, I mean, he would make the most, I think, staying with us as opposed to hitting like open free agency. I don't think a team could even pay him that much. But you can see he's not loyal. He doesn't care about playing for a winner. So it's kind of like, it's almost like fail proof. It could cripple us a little bit financially next year, but even if he regresses another 3, he's still at an 82. So he's still serviceable. It would not be, I don't want to pay a guy $48 million when he's an 82 overall, right? I don't think that's a huge question. So, but here he sits at an 85. It's interesting is like when you go to the actual trade screen, right? Wasn't it different than that? I swear it was like a different rating for him. I don't know, it does say 85. So But anyway, yeah, he's come down, and again, he'll come down again next year as well. But our coach handles older players. We have some of those badges that helps kind of get the most out of older players, and I don't recall if that helps with regression or not. But point being is there's a risk in that, right? There is a risk in that deal, and that's why I wanted to stop the video here to get your feedback. Again, thank you so much for subscribing and for watching these. This has been a lot of fun, and this is not the only series that we're going to be doing here with 2K. So thanks again, everyone, and I will see you next time. Can't wait to hear your feedback. Talk to you then.